Hello, everyone. Welcome to Clarity 16.1.1 Supportability and Feature Training. My name is Dave Sprague. In this section, we will review Clarity's expanding audit capabilities for the modern UX. So what's new? In this release, the expanded audit capabilities are now available in the modern UX. First up, Clarity is introducing a new audit module configured via Blueprint like all other modules, but this module provides audit details for all objects and attributes that are audit enabled. The change date column now includes a timestamp. The number and money fields are displayed based upon configured view option settings, and audit information is now available for per period metric changes, user group changes, assigned resources changes, and a select list of stock multi-value lookup changes. I want to point out an important detail that the new audit module displays information for the configured parent object. For example, if the audit module is configured on a project, the module will include audit information for its related sub-objects such as staff updates or task updates, to name a few. Why is this important? Clarity administrators are often on the receiving end of requests for detailed audit reports. Well, now administrators can leverage the modern user experience with the expanded audit capabilities to comply with these requests. With the added capability to configure an audit module, users can seamlessly view audit-related information in the context of an investment, such as a project idea or custom investment, or other customer configured processes such as within the hierarchy or a custom object. And the audit module is a feature request from the Customer Innovation Program. So what's changed? I just discussed an audit module that is available for all blueprints and can be configured on all API-enabled objects. The audit module is available for agreements, custom investment types, custom objects, hierarchies, ideas, pages, projects, and roadmaps. As you'd expect, the audit module is available as a blueprint module. However, the audit module is not configured by default as an enabled module. The administrator simply configures the audit module in the same manner as all other modules. The audit module leverages the configurable grid toolset utilized throughout Clarity with the familiar tools such as export to CSV, group by, filtering, and save views, to name a few. In the last release, the change date field did not include a timestamp. With this release, the audit grids now include a timestamp within the change date field itself. The display time is based upon the actual time zone of the end user's computing device. There is no end user or administrative setting to display the timestamp information. The display time is not based on the classic setting configured by end users under the classic account settings area. The timestamp is included in both the audit module and the audit tile under the modern UX administration area. Final comment on this topic is this release, the timestamp will be available in the grid only, meaning the change date field, when configured to display in the flyout, will not include the timestamp. As you know, the Clarity configurable grids support number and money decimal display options that are configured by an end user from within the view options pane and often used and saved as part of a view. In the last release, the display setting was not honored from an audit perspective. With this release, the display settings are now supported in both the audit module and the audit tile under modern UX administration. The image on this page shows a very simple example of displaying an investment's percent complete change from 0 to 10%. What else has changed? The modern UX audit capabilities have been expanded to support tracking per period metric changes. For example, the audit grid in this example shows before or old value and after or new value allocation changes for an individual resource for a given investment. It all starts in Classic by audit enabling the allocation attribute on the team object as an example of a TSV attribute. From view options in the audit grids, select old and new value from the per period metric session, select the period type, and the relevant start and end periods. From the column panel, select old and new value from within the totals section. Save this configuration in a view so you can use it again because other audit views may not include per period metrics. In this example, the first audit row displays the allocation change for the January period. The second audit row displays the allocation changes for February and March period using a copy and paste action. The key takeaway is that the modern UX audit capabilities have been expanded to support tracking per period metric changes. The modern UX audit now supports tracking user group changes. Basically, as resources are added or removed from user groups, including with the use of Zog, the audit capabilities will monitor these changes. In Classic, you must audit enable the user group attribute on the user object. With that in place, updates to user groups performed in the modern UX will be displayed in the Classic Global Audit area and in the audit tile under Modern UX Administration. The modern UX audit now supports tracking assigned resources changes. Basically, as resources are added or removed from task assignments, including the use of Zog, the audit capabilities will monitor these changes. Again, in Classic, you must audit enable the assigned resources attribute on the team object. With that in place, updates to task assigned resources performed in the modern UX will be displayed in the Classic Global Audit area, the new audit module, and in the audit tile under Modern UX Administration. The Modern UX audit now supports tracking changes to a select set of stock multi-value lookups that are associated with agreements, cost plans, roadmap items, and risk objects. Basically, as end users change data contained in these stock lookups, the expanded audit capabilities will monitor these changes. Again, in Classic, you must audit enable each multi-value lookup attribute on their respective objects first. With that in place, end user updates to agreement owners, contributors, predecessors, successors, or roadmap items must-have values will be displayed in the Classic Global Audit area, a new audit module where appropriate, and in the audit tile under Modern UX Administration. Be aware that changes to the cost plan grouping attributes are only audited during the cost plan create operation because these values can only be updated once. Once the cost plan is created, those values cannot be updated. And then for your information, plans, this is a new workspace introduced in this release and will be covered in a separate training session. Okay, let's move on to the demonstration. In this demo, you'll see how to use the modern UX and understand the new audit module, recognize the change date field within with its timestamp. We're going to audit per period metrics. We're going to audit user groups. We're going to audit assigned resources, and we're going to audit some of the stock multi-value lookups. Okay, let's get to the application. I am just here at the projects list in the Modern UX. This is Clarity 16.1.1. I'm going to first start in the administration area, and I'll go to the blueprint area. Right here, blueprints, and I'll just pick this project blueprint, and I'll click edit and select modules, and you can see audit right here. It's in the list. It's grayed out because it is already configured. So this is just an example of another module that is configured like any other any module. This is available for agreements, custom investment types, custom objects, hierarchies, ideas, projects, and roadmaps. Okay, so let's come out of the blueprint area. And you'll notice that that was positioned in, or is positioned in the first position. So let's go take a look at this in action. We'll go into Able, Able payments, and you'll again see that audit is positioned in the first position per the blueprint. I've got a standard view here across the top, the various different attributes from the object, the record, what attribute, what operation was performed, old and new values, when was it changed, and notice the time stamp is included. This is based on my end user time zone for the compute, my time zone for my Mac, and change by, and I can, I can change those however I wish, save that audit. I'll open up the columns panel here to just show you that there's a few other attributes available here. We'll come back to totals in just a minute. And we'll come back there and I'll open the filter. This has, I can filter by any object. I'll pull this down. For this particular part of the demonstration, I'm really focused on these particular objects. Of course, you can see in this list any object that is audit enabled. And then I have a filter here. There's a different user experience here. This is a seeded filter that cannot be removed. However, it can be altered. The default is 10 days before the current date. We just wanted to improve the user experience there and only show things, audit information for the past 10 days. I can change that as I've done it here to just show the past up to the last 5 days. Okay, we already talked about the date and time. And then notice over here in the object column, based on my filter, I've got my project, risk, and task objects. Project, notice I've got my percent complete here. I've got some information here for risks. A couple of these are stock multi-value lookups. And from a task perspective, I do have the assigned resources attribute, which is a multi-value lookup as well. So one quick piece here is just to show off the number and money in decimal. In this case, I have a number. If I watch the percent complete line item as I change that, it's just going to honor the settings all the way to 0.75, which is my 75%. Okay, so that's the view options setting being honored. We talked about the time. And the next thing I want to do is switch to another view here. I'll save that view. I'll switch to my allocation audit for the first period. The first thing I want to talk about, it obviously has a different look and feel compared to the previous view. This one includes per period metrics, or TSVs. So how did I get those in there? So under view options, just like the other view options areas throughout the application, I can choose my periods. I can choose my start and end period. I'm just interested in Q1. And then there's the per period metrics here. There's, in this example, in this case here on the audit module, we're limited to just 2 values, old and new. So that's the settings that you need for that. And then from the column panel, I will see a totals section. That's going to derive this area. And again, I'm limited to just 2. That's all I care about in this particular use case is old and new value. And my object that I've chosen here, I've specifically just selected the team object because we're interested in monitoring allocation updates right here. So let's go to the staff module. And I'm going to make a few changes here to Joyce Coleman. She's got 75, 75, 65. I'm going to just change this to 100. I'll change this to 90. And then I'll update the third period in this quarter to 75. So I've done a little bit adjustment on Joyce's allocations. I'm also going to come down to Sam Stoneberg and update the January allocation. I'm just going to drop that back down from 150 to 100. Okay, so while we're talking about TSVs or per period metrics, let's go back to the audit module. And we're looking at the audit here. I just changed, I'll just do a change date. I'll put the most recent changes up at the top here. We did Sam Stoneberg, and we changed his values here from, where am I? Yep. The old value was 150. I went 100, 140, and 178 for those changes there. Actually, I just changed his January period. Forgive me. I changed it from 150 to 100. I left those things alone so you don't see any delta between the old and new value there. Now, Joyce, I did 3 actions, right? For each period, and then that updated the total. So the first thing I did was I took the January period, I took it from 75 to 100. Then I took the February period from 65 to 75, which is, it was 75 to 90, I apologize, right here. And then I took the March period from 65 to 75. So that is reflected right here. Okay, and then also you'll see the total changed. The total value changed from old to new. And then this just indicates there was no additional changes besides the total. Okay, and we talked about Sam's change for the period. All right, let's go to the properties area. Just there's a few attributes for projects that we've updated or enabled for audit, one being percent complete. We're doing pretty good. I'm going to change that to 80%. I'm going to change the manager from Cheryl to Ed Carmen. We'll just make that change here to Ed. And then the name of the actual project itself, I'm just going to get rid of the word module. It's kind of confusing. So I made those changes on the property side. I'm going to go to the task module, and I'm going to go to this define scope and change. I'm going to remove Deborah Berry as an assigned resource. So this is an example of an assigned resource change. And then I'm going to go out to my risk module, and I'm going to go to my stock multi-value lookups that are here, and I'm going to kind of add another setting there, and on the associated risks, I'm going to change that to include both. So I've made changes to the properties area, the risks area, the tasks area, and now let's go back to audit, and we'll switch our view to project properties audit. And I'll do my change date 243. I'll change this to sort on from current to oldest. And you can see the risk object changes that we made. We added, you can see the old value was a single value, and now the new values have multiple values. I can just extend that a little bit for you. I could also wrap the text if I wish, just to give myself a little more real estate. And then from the task area, we had an assigned resource update. The old value had Deborah Berry on there, and she has been removed. I can see that change. From the associated risks, we talked about that, the update there, the project name, right? We removed the word module, we had changed manager, and also we updated the percentage from 75 to 80%. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about now is user group auditing. So let's go to the administration area. We'll go into the user area that was new a couple PIs ago. And we've got our basic users, and there's a user group column here. I'll just go to Cheryl Amos, and you can see the multi-select here for user groups. I'll just go ahead and add her as a company manager, app administrator, and a roadmap approver. And so I've added 3 more groups to that user. So let's go see what that looks like in the context of audit, but this time we'll come in through the administration area into audit. And here's our grouping. I'm specifically monitoring on the assignment and or user, and I've left the filter there, the default filter. I haven't changed it. But let me come back to change based on time, and I think we're sorted on that. So here's the user object, Cheryl, user groups. And what have we done here? Well, you can see that there's quite a few more groups. She had 1, 2, 3 groups, and now she's got 6. So this is a great example of showing how user groups can be monitored as well from an audit perspective. Okay, well, this concludes the expanding audit capabilities for the modern UX section. Thank you for your time. We'll see you soon.